Well, Pat, we did it again. We made it to another Friday.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
So we're ready for our millions and millions of viewers.
Yeah,
And
cold out there. I got my vest on. My guys, I'm
cold.
not used to this Phoenix 60-degree weather.
Yeah, well, let me let
Amazing.
me let me check this out here. You said it's cold. I go like at a Target parking lot and I play from here, not from here. And the locals, when it's 70 degrees, are wearing a down jacket. It's 69 degrees.
I know.
And
I have
and the
become
people
such a
from
wimp.
Michigan are wearing shorts and flip-flops. So,
I have
there you go.
become a wimp.
Yeah, it's happened to you. So I'm looking at our count here. We have 1 million viewers. No, wait. No, that's one. No, three. So we're close. Just the difference between three and 1 million is it'll catch up here real quick.
We round up on this show.
We round up. That's right. So just don't ask us to do any math at your house. So why am I talking about the 1970s? I put up in my thumbnail here. I came across this, Pat, this morning, and this is somebody that's in the Federal Reserve who suggests the Fed says cutting employee raises will fight inflation. Wage growth has been a contributing factor to inflation, especially in the service sector. So it's important to get the labor market into better balance to bring future wage growth down to a more sustainable level. I can't talk. That'll assist in moving overall inflation lower. That is so President Nixon to me. President Nixon, I was in high school, then it was 19, and I'm going to age myself here. 1971 is when he issued a 6-month freeze on wages and prices. It didn't matter what you manufactured, what you built, what you sold, you couldn't raise the price for 6 months. And the history's gone back and showed that it did not accomplish anything. Now, I remember my brother was working at a Pay and Save store, and he couldn't get a raise unless he went to another department or changed positions. The grocery store I worked at, all of a sudden, after about 3 months, everybody I worked with were suddenly vice presidents. They were all promoted because then you could give them a raise. Mm-hmm. You couldn't raise the price of meat. So what the grocery store started doing was figuring out that you could raise the price of meat if you called it something else. You took the same old steak, you put it in a different package, and you called it premium cut. Now you could raise the price. So everybody was finding these workarounds. And he was under a lot of pressure to do something about inflation. And so politically, he gained a lot of ground because when he put in the price freezes and wage freezes, everybody thought, way to go. He's finally doing something about inflation. And then he got reelected and he extended it for a while. But what's interesting is I went back and I looked at the yield spread here. And I'm by no means no expert, but there's an awful similarity right here back from 1973 to today. Mm-hmm. This is when the great gray areas here are recessions, these here. Mm-hmm. So you can see that went down. You had a recession. We went way down here. Here came the big recession there. So there are some similarities to that, but it's interesting. It jumped out at me this morning. I go, are you kidding me? They're talking about that stuff. Looking at our numbers today, we have 20,226 homes on the market. 3,131 of those, 3,134 are new listings, with 2,248 going under contract. And Jackie saying, is somebody going to help me out? Poking fun at her yesterday. Hello, Jackie. Last year at this time, Pat, we had 3,761 new listings. That's about 600 more than what we're seeing now. Mm-hmm. But 3,789 went under contract, a difference of only 28. Now, today, there's a difference of only 886. We've been running about 1,200. So the holiday dip is coming down on new listings, and the sales are still staying at 2,200. When you look at the Cromford Index, I was wrong. I thought Fountain Hills was below 100. It's getting there. The top three here, 149, 119, and 104. Down at the bottom here, Buckeye here at 47.6. And it said Surprise is living up to its name by delivering a 3% improvement in the CMI over the past month. The other cities, not so much. In conclusion, the deterioration for sellers is starting to deaccelerate with an average change in the CMI of 9.8%, an improvement over the minus 10.8% last week. Gilbert's one of the areas where prospects for sellers are starting to improve slightly as supply declines. And that I believe is just truly seasonal.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
So Fed news. We talked about interest rates at great length on last night's show. Not a lot of movement today, right?
Not really. I mean, the 5.5 coupon was down 25 basis points. The 10-year Treasury was up 6 basis to 383. But according to this is the chart on rates. You can see we're just starting now. I've been reiterating the last couple weeks that we're starting to see some easing on rates. And, I think I just still keep looking back to last Thursday. We saw that one down day on rates where rates improved by probably about 0.5 to 5/8 of a point. Probably the biggest improvement they've seen on record on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So it's been, I think my personal feeling is we're going to look back on that date, kind of like we did at January 3rd this last year when rates started creeping up, because we're starting to see this diversion amongst the Federal Reserve governors. You talked about that. I mean, we looked on that that one site that you and I follow, and we get glean a lot of information from it. But there was one Fed Reserve chairman said the markets are way out in front right now. That's just one data point, the CPI. They're saying inflation will take. Another one said inflation will take time to come down. Another one said it would make sense to slow the pace of the rate hikes. Another, this daily said inflation data is good news, but pausing is not being discussed. Yeah, right here. And the Fed has more work to do, needs to hike rates. So, the Fed needs to hike. Bullard is probably the most hawkish. He says he wants to hike at least to 5%. He wants to see it over to 7%. So it's been.
Well, they're not all singing from the same song sheet anymore, are they?
No, they're not. I mean, that's the thing is, I think rates have they're holding their ground here. They're not spiking up, but yeah, seeing that one. Did you? The Bullard. Look at the Fed rate expectations. The Fed day. This is where they think the federal fund rate is going to stop. The terminal rate where they think it's going to stop, but that was the day of the CPI. Look at how it's dropped. And then Bullard came out. We saw a little spike up there. So it's been all over the board now. And now, I mean, it's kind of interesting to sit back and look at it. Last year, they were talking about inflation, right? I mean, now it just seems as though we're going to see, based on the CPI numbers coming out in December, next couple of weeks, the Federal Reserve, the meeting, we went from inflation talk now to, recession. So it's inflation, recession now.
Yeah.
So now you're going to see a lot. I think you're going to see just as much volatility based on that, but it's going to be quite, like I said, I think Barry's kind of spot on. He said inflation's kind of being subdued here a little bit. So, like I said, I think, but there's going to be a lot of talk about that back and forth. Is inflation still here? Bottom line is it's still here. And, the Feds are going to still keep the pedal down until they see some type of movement. I don't know. What do you think about the more I look at them always cranking up about the employment numbers. We got to see the employment numbers go up, like Running at Altitude said, there's lots of job layoffs happening. There are. I mean, you see some of these Amazon, you see all these big companies now, 5,000 to 10,000 jobs. And the jobs that they're laying off are not just your $12 an hour jobs.
No, they're all across the board. But I think more than that, you're hardly seeing any holiday hiring right now.
Yeah.
Best Buy isn't bringing a lot of people. My son works there. They usually bring on all these people in October to get ready for Black Friday. I don't think they hired anybody. And Target's not hiring. And you see a few help wanted at the mall, like JCPenney or something, but they're not coming on because there's a lot of pessimism, going into next year. I think, as you see the unemployment numbers enter into that conversation with inflation, I mean, that's the goal, isn't it? Isn't the goal to really pull back on the availability of credit and get, in fact, and that clamps down on consumer activity, business expansion, everything, and then inflation comes down. But you shared this chart with me, which is a real eye opener.
Yeah.
And this is your credit availability index. Look at that back in the silly season of real estate.
0506
today.
Yep.
And this is why our existing mortgages are in good shape now.
Yeah, and that's why people get frustrated from the compliance standpoint. I got frustrated several years ago, with every document that I needed to get in because of the Dodd-Frank. Basically, like I said, they put the onus now on the lender to prove the client has got every debt out there. But the compliance have tightened up everything. And I've been spouting to people the last 10 years. It says, every time I ask for a document, I know it seems like a pain in the butt, but, it's just protecting everybody. It has protected everybody the last 10 years in terms of just, I'm starting to see some different programs, these bank statement programs, they're coming out. Matter of fact, I guess there's one lender who's coming out with a neg am loan, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, but,
explain to everybody what a neg av loan is.
Well, basically, it's a minimum. You're making the most minimal payment. I mean, basically, you have a minimum payment of $800 when you should be making a payment of $2,000, and that $1,200 goes on. Whatever you don't pay goes on the back end of the loan. So your loan amount actually goes from $400,000 to $402 to $404, and you're not paying anything down. And then that's just a kiss. That was a kiss of death in California for sure. But I don't know. The reason I was going to ask you was of the employment numbers. The more the feds keep talking about this employment number. This is just my stupid theories. I think the employment numbers, they're important, but I think they've been so out of whack now with COVID. You don't know Michael Rowe was being interviewed on this news station last night. He said, he said there was something like towards 4 or 5 million people out there, guys, men that could be working that are not working. And there's 5 million jobs out there that they could be working. Michael Rowe was saying how people have really they're not working as much. So,
well, I read that up in the Pacific Northwest that the Washington State ferries are not bringing on their workers that are not vaxxed. And it was a pretty big number, and they had to cut down on all the trips. Yeah. And so now if you want to get from Seattle over to where I grew up, it takes you forever. You're like a 3-hour wait at the line to get on the ferry when you might as well just drive around through Tacoma and get
Well, that's what I see these feds, the feds talking about the employment. It's like they're looking over here, but we still have inflation. I mean, something seems, I'm not a Rhodes Scholar economist, but it just seems like there's something disjointed in what they're looking at, because like you said, Michael Rowe yesterday was saying there's 5 million people that are willing workers that are out there, but there's 5 million job openings. So how is it really a true sense of where the hell we're at with inflation? I mean,
those numbers have always been monkeyed with. Here's something I don't understand, Pat. Maybe you can shed some light on it. But
that's right.
Open Doors launching this off-market homes you can't find anywhere else. Skip the bidding wars.
Oh yeah, right.
What bidding wars?
I know.
Has anybody gone out the past 3 months to buy a
Jesus.
house and run into
Maybe
a
they're on
bidding war?
Mars. Maybe there's a bidding war on Mars somewhere.
Self-tour
Jesus.
and buy off-market homes at exclusive prices. We even offer an appraisal price match guarantee. So these homes are not being put on the multiple listing service. They can do that because they
That's why they're not selling any.
well, they still have 1,400 on the MLS, but evidently they're going to start wrapping their arms around some other inventory and saying, here, these are exclusive. And the buyer's supposed to go, oh,
wink, wink.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, because so nobody else can see this. Now, here's my theory. Open Door's got to do something because their burn rate with cash is crazy. So they partnered up with Zillow, and you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, Zillow makes their money off of revenue from real estate agents. The way Zillow works is 10 million people a month go visit Zillow to look at homes. And then you can see that there's some real estate agents off to at a certain part on the page. It used to just be on the right-hand side, but now it's who knows where it is. You would click on that to get a hold of that agent. That's because that agent paid an advertising fee to be in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And it varied by zip code based on the activity and the price of the home. Sometimes as high as $2,500 a month and for advertising on Zillow. And so I think Open Door's going to try and use these exclusive listings that they have as a method to build an active buyer database and then sell that back to agents in the same way that Zillow does. We've got exclusive buyers looking at our listings. Would you like to know who they are in your zip code? I don't know. I was talking to one of the gentlemen that you've been talking with in Maricopa, and we were bouncing that around today. And I said, I got to see what they're doing. I can't wrap my head around this when they say skip the bidding wars. And there's your alien again. It landed. They're coming down in droves. Home prices will fall in 2023, but affordability will be the worst since 85. This research firm says, Capital Economics, and it is prediction season. Buyers will gain more power in the housing market next year. So they're saying that home prices will fall by 8% next year, but higher mortgage rates and a possible recession will consider to hurt affordability. Now, the National Association of Realtors had two economists. One said that home prices will not be down as bad as people say next year. And yet the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors came out and goes, well, it's not going to be a good year. Now, these guys are saying, well, we'll probably fall by 8%. I haven't seen CoreLogic's prediction yet. I haven't seen Realtor.com's prediction. Redfin's is even more bleak than that. And they see a lot of data. These guys they said, given that we are unlikely to see an improvement in affordability anytime soon, buyers will be priced out of the market, while others will simply be unwilling to make a purchase, the report stated. As bidders become scarcer, they better call Open Door. Market power will shift further from sellers to buyers. I mean, that's kind of a study, isn't it? Well, duh.
Yeah.
It's
I think
it's going
to
to be
a lot of those.
year.
I think it's going to be I think you're going to see a lot of comments coming out. Obviously, like this is the prediction season we got coming up here.
And I looked at Airbnb data. I just kind of took another quick look right here in Scottsdale, and there are 6,237 active rentals. That market may take a hit if we end up with a recession and it dings us in tourism, because we're seeing tourist traffic across the United States and Airbnbs really taking a hit. In our state, we're seeing more and more localized regulations by cities. So far, the regulations haven't been strict enough to make everybody say, well, I'm getting out. I mean, they got to pay a licensing fee. They have to pay a tax, and they have to provide their contact information. But I haven't seen any laws come on the books yet that say this is too cumbersome. I'm bowing out. But if we end up after spring training and now people can't find a way to fill their Airbnbs, they're either going to turn them into long-term rentals or they're going to put them on the market. I think they're going to put them on the market but I don't know how much of a addition in inventory that's going to add because, as people consider putting homes on the market, even this January, are we still only going to be flogging along the bottom with only 2,200 homes going into contract every 7 days? So until that number changes,
I think, no, I agree. I mean, I people are saying where price is going to go. I'm starting formalizing my little redhead head of that brain of mine is that I think, and correct me if I'm wrong or what you think about this, but we know that house prices are going to probably soften up, but I think there's going to be a lot of demand, the interest rate elasticity. If rates do come down, I think rates are going to have the quickest impact because people are going to look at like, hey, my mortgage I can get now at 5.25, 5.5. I think that's going to be the biggest push. What do you think? I mean, as far as because people are going to say, oh yeah, prices are going to soften, but boy, I tell you, when we saw demand application pick up after last week, a lot of people were, probably thinking about trying to lock in or trying to, renegotiate the rate after they dropped 5/8 of a point. But, man, I just think that if Barry says they do come back down here based on subdued inflation numbers, and I think the Feds, I don't trust the Feds at all. I really don't. I mean, they just have not proven themselves.
I think shows up in this number, Pat. This is your average list price. These are the sellers telling you, well, and JJ, it was great meeting you guys at the meeting too. I had a great time. Going to do another one. I think I might do another one in December. The average list price is not plummeting, which means sellers are just saying, well, I'm not desperate. I'm just going to list it. And if I don't sell it, I'm not in trouble because otherwise this line would really be climbing down. That top line, and it's not, which is telling you that for now, for November, December, that there's no pressure to list. Now, this whole dynamic could really change as we get into the rest of the year, but that's one of the main lines you want to watch because you can already see what happened here when this was the first rate hit right here. That's when we started seeing a listing price per square foot. That's what they were asking for, but they weren't getting it. If we go and we take a look at the listing success, it tells you, yeah, well, they were asking for that. But guess what? They weren't getting it. So this is, let's see, listing.
Holy mackerel. What is that noisy chart?
That is so
Jesus.
noisy. Yeah, I can't make head nor tails out of that one. So here it's saying in the 300 to 400,000 range, listing success rate 70%, 4 to 5 and 5 to 6 drop into the 60s. Over $1 million, it's half. Half the listings are getting the price. And Ernie says, going to put my house up for sale in February in Chandler, moving to Prescott Valley. Would you suggest waiting until March? I know you don't have a crystal ball. You have more insight though than me. Well, Ernie, I think, March has always been a good time to list a home because buyer traffic historically does increase. But unfortunately, we've lost our seasonality here in the Valley. So I think it boils down to how much inventory is actually out there in Chandler. And right now, Chandler's analysis by, I want to say by days on market. Let's see. No, it's not letting me pull it up here. The Cromford Market Index is showing that Chandler's actually improving a little bit for sellers. But March, I'd say yes, it's a good time to list, but we just don't know where rates are going to be.
Yeah. Based on what I'm hearing from Barry, they're going to, if they soften up, then they're a little bit lower. I mean, you're going to see more demand. That's what March, April, May.
It is showing, the data is showing that if you're going to price, you're going to have to price at or below 2021 pricing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going to have to be willing to give seller concessions, because last year was the year of the buyer beatdown. This is the year of buyer revenge. I don't care what price you list your house at.
You're right. That was a great point you made the other day. As far as like, if you list at 400, you're going to get beaten down from 400.
Well, let's say your home's worth 400 and you listed at 300, they're still going to offer you 290. So
Yeah. Yep.
every buyer is not, face it, don't agonize too much over your listing price. Just find out where it is. Look at don't go back 3 months, but look at what's pending in your neighborhood. Look at what's for sale in your neighborhood. Don't look at the history, because we're on our way down.
Yeah.
Even if we're only down like 0.5%, we're on our way down. So look at that. And if you price yourself there and you feel really good about that price, I really want you to wrap your head around the fact that nobody's going to offer you that price, because buyers know it's a buyer's market. And so they're just not going to do it. They're going to go, well, 475 seems like a good price. I'm offering them 450. And that's what they do. So do you have something coming up there on the bottom? I see a chart there. Or is it?
No, nothing. No,
You're
just talking about the feds. No, I'm just the feds. I'm just
I can
looking
see
at
your web activity from here. It looks like you're buying a new car. So
no, I got my old car. Got after that accident, I pulled my other car out of the garage, which I had on reserve. So no, it's gonna be interesting to see what the Fed. This is what all the federal governors say. It's just they've been the last couple of years. It's funny how they've been kind of in the background, but now all these 7 or 8, 9 governors are becoming kind of like little rock stars in our own little monetary world, as far as what they say. And, like you said, Bullard came out the other day and said something, and, the market kind of crapped the bed a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how they, each one individually votes. And obviously we're going to probably see, some tightening. They say 50 basis points, but the talk is they're going to increase it 50 basis points and then sit there. They're not going to lower them. See how the numbers pan out from there.
Going back to Ernie here. Ernie, here's your challenge for March. Here's January. We always get a lot of listings in January. This is a seasonal average. So you can see 253, then it drops to 225, goes back up to 254. So if you're thinking about selling in March, I'd list it in February, because we get a wave of new listings every March. Then it goes down from there until you get to August. And then October, it spikes up again, and then you have the holiday doldrums here. But if you're thinking about March, I'd put it on the market in February, just based on that data alone. So, what happens in January is you get the most listings for the year in January, followed by the most price reductions in February. Everybody's optimistic at the first of the year. Putting my house on, it's going to be better. And they put it on and it doesn't happen. They go, well, better or lower price.
They're waiting.
So that's what's happening. So
they wait after Christmas holiday.
Yeah. And it's what I'm watching here is that 2,200 every 7 days. How low is that going to get Thanksgiving week and Christmas week? That's you bet, Ernie. It's just for giggles. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything about the market. I'm just curious. Will we get down to like 1,700? As you get into Christmas week. So Thanksgiving week, it slows down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Activity picks up like crazy the Friday after Thanksgiving for real estate agents. It's the best open house day of the year. If you want to meet people, have an open house on Friday, because, some people go to the mall and some people go to the open house. But even the traffic going out to the mall on Black Friday stuff right now it has dwindled over the years. There aren't these door busting. I'm glad they're getting away from that trend, because people were getting hurt.
That's bad.
Doing that. Yeah. It was just nonsense. We look like idiots as a country for Black Friday.
I know. It's a holiday. We count our blessings, but then we go out and, it's Thursday, we count our blessings. Then we go out and spend money like a damn idiot.
Yeah. So, I do want to do another meet and greet. Pat and I were talking about today, we're going to call them pop-ups. So what we're going to do is we're just going to send out, put a notice on here, and just say, hey, we're going to be at blah 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 place from 5-7. Come by and say hello, and it'll be non-hosted. In other words, we won't be buying the drinks and the food this time, but
I'll buy a few. Maybe.
we'll just find the spots. Yeah, you'll buy a few. You always do. So that's what we're looking at doing. And I was going to wait until January, but I had so much fun at this one. I want to do one.
Yeah, it was great to meet everybody. It was
Christmas,
pretty cool to meet a lot. It was great to meet a lot of people and put a name to a face to a name. And, it's, you talk to people and, it just kind of reiterate that, what you and I are just talking about. We're just two guys in Phoenix, trying to discern some of the numbers that we come across on a daily basis, trying to gather the information. And, I think you and I talking to realtors, and I talk to mortgage people, I talk to agents, I talk to clients, you kind of get a sense of what the heck is kind of going on. Even you can take a small sample and, it doesn't take much to get a small sample and extrapolate that into a further market. I think people are yearning to, you and I have always talked about not trying to twist anything or just trying to, maybe we give our opinion here and there, but you have to kind of see what's out there. I mean, and
I've got big YouTube plans for Arizona with other Arizona YouTubers. So I'm starting in the infant stages of that, but I've got, you said something about that little train going through your head. I got big ideas rattling around there. I kind of have to let them rattle around for a while and then consolidate before I say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Because then I'm going to go, what the hell made me think I could do that? So,
maybe I'll, there's a bar. I think there's a bar somewhere in Scottsdale that has a train running around the, like the top of the bar. Maybe I'll have that one in the background here, a train running around the background.
Well, you've still got time for a couple wild analogies, so I can get a shirt designed before Christmas. So
okay,
we'll get that going. So,
I'll figure out something.
Well,
I think we're going to see some volatility. We're going to see some volatility next week. I mean, like I said, this holiday season is going to be interesting because, like I said, the Fed, the CPI, but the next 30, 35 days, 40 days. I mean, actually, whatever, how many days of trading, it's going to be volatility because the traders take vacation. There's not going to be as many traders on the trading desk, so. I think you're going to see more wild gaps as far as, the trading on the bond market.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right. Well, Pat, have a fabulous Friday and have a great weekend. And thank you for millions and millions of viewers.
Millions and millions.
See the number up there. It's 3.9 million.
Good.
No, wait, that's 39. Okay. Talk to you soon.
All right. See you, buddy.